this, I know. It's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here. But we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you. That meant something. Even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going. Because they were holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo. And it's worth fighting for.
John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was born in 1892 in South Africa. Later, his family moved to England, where he attended Oxford University in 1916 and met his wife, Edith Bratt, at the age of 21.
The first time Tolkien met Bratt, he was 16 and she was 19. He was living in a lodging house. He was forbidden to see her until he had finished Oxford University, and at that time he was 21.
A few months later, Tolkien went off to fight in the war, where he lost all but one of his friends.
Tolkien was one of the lucky few who got to finish his degree at Oxford in June of 1915, but soon after he had to leave with the rest of the troops. Before leaving for France, he had married Edith Bratt on a small Catholic church in Warwick on 22nd of March, 1916.
Fortunately, Tolkien survived the war and later moved back to England, where he taught at the University of Oxford.
It's where he met his friend, C.S. Lewis, and they formed a close group of literary friends.
Through all of Tolkien's success, he had always dated everything back to one of his closest people in his life, Father Francis Morgan, the man who paid for everything. Father Morgan paid for his schooling and also supported his family through the rough times that they were going through, considering they lost their father and later their mother. In a letter that he wrote to his son, Lewis said, "Morgan was more than a father to me. He had been the first person who had shown me true charity." Maybe this is where he got some of the themes of his books.
JRR Tolkien taught at the University of Oxford for 34 years. This is where some of his greatest works come out of, including The Hobbit that was written in 1937.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, the pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, it flaming spread, the like torches blazed with light.
I cannot guarantee his safety. Understood. Nor will I be responsible for his fate.
You'll have a tale or two to tell when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
My name is Bilbo Baggins.
Bagginses. What is Bagginses? Precious.
Since its release in 1937, The Hobbit has sold over 35 million copies in 25 different languages, making it the all-time best fiction book seller.
Though unlike his other novels, in The Hobbit, Tolkien does not reflect his Christian views. Rather, he created a story based upon adventure, a story that got people wanting to get up there and just go and do something. In fact, this book made such an impact that after The Lord of the Rings was created into a movie, a few years later people demanded that The Hobbit came out. So, in 2012, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey will be released December 14th. Although the title is An Unexpected Journey, this release has been very expected for many years, and it will be very exciting to see what Peter Jackson will do with the film.
After the world was shocked with The Hobbit, J.R.R. Tolkien released his new book series, The Lord of the Rings.
Though evidently violent in its nature, The Lord of the Rings was a clearly Christian book, full of Christian values that Tolkien loved to share.
Selling over 4 million books a year. It was both intriguing and inspiring to non-Christians and Christians alike.
Unlike The Hobbit, Tolkien came out with this book, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which actually reflected a lot of his Christian values in his real life. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, "The Lord of the Rings is of course a fundamentally religious and Catholic work. Unconsciously so at first, but consciously in the revision. That's why I have not put it in or have cut out practically all references to anything like religion, to cults or practices in the imaginary world, for the religious element is absorbed into the story and its symbolism." In these books, Tolkien digs deep into symbolism and shows many of his characters as different characteristics of Christ.